First of all, good morning. My name is Louis George. I'm the chairman of the Government Affairs Committee for the Simsbury Chamber. I want to thank everyone for coming. Obviously a great turnout. We'd like to thank the Hartford and CBRE for helping us coordinate this informational breakfast. Part of the Chamber's mission is to educate and communicate various social, economic interests within the community. And obviously, the Hartford and this property is an important fabric of Simsbury and our community. And obviously, a lot of people have interests and concerns of what's going on. So we thought that this type of informational update would be helpful to everyone. And obviously, by the attendance, that is certainly the case. I would like to recognize a number of people that are here. I won't mention names, but we have a number of boards and commission members from the town of Simsbury here. We have our state senator, Kevin Whitkos. We have John McCormick from CBRE. But one of the people that I'm going to introduce at this point is really helping and working hard to develop a synergy with the Hartford, with CBRE, to bring about the best possible outcome for our town. And at this time, I'd like to introduce that person, Mary Glassman, our first selectman in the town of Simsbury. So, Mary.
Thank you, Lou. I don't know if you can, I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. Thank you, Lou, and thanks to the efforts of the Economic Development Commission for all your hard work as well on behalf of the town of Simsbury. I also want to thank the Chamber for hosting this wonderful breakfast and forum this morning. And of course, the Hartford for hosting and also for being a great partner with the town of Simsbury. We have a very unique relationship. The Hartford's always been very community-oriented, and we look forward to working together as we come up with new and exciting opportunities. Also wanted to thank all of the elected officials who are here today. On the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, which supported the study that will result in a new code for this unique property, and all the other boards and commissioners that will be involved in this process. And we have a number of residents here, which is exciting to see because it's your tax dollars, and it's great that you're taking the time to be here to see how things are happening in the town. I just wanted to take a moment to share some of the exciting things happening in the town of Simsbury besides our unique partnership with the Hartford. And many of the seeds that we started to sow 6 years ago have now come to fruition and are bearing some wonderful fruit. We first have the first grand list growth that we've had since 2010. We have a number of exciting new businesses that have moved in, and many of you who represent those new businesses and new opportunities, so we're really exciting. The groundwork that we laid with this Center Charette is now resulted in the first form-based code, and has resulted in new housing, new businesses, and it's very exciting. The experience with the code also has prepared us for what we're doing today, and that is working with the Hartford on a new code to excite new opportunities and new businesses. The marketing study that the town completed has resulted in some exciting new opportunities. It's being used to market the town, and is being used also as a tourism opportunity. Also, our Business Resource Center at the library continues to be a resource for our businesses and our local businesses. And our library is now starting a new innovation center. So all of you innovators, will be asking you to get involved in helping us become a center for new creative ideas and networking for many of our home-based innovators who are in town. Also, we are really excited, and I want to thank particularly Hiram Peck for all his hard work and our staff. But we're really excited about the partnership that we formed with the state of Connecticut. Simsbury came up with an idea that there are certain certified sites around the country that make it more attractive for businesses to locate. What that means is that sites are shovel-ready before the businesses come in, and it really streamlines the process. We worked with the state of Connecticut, particularly Maya Lowenberg, who's here today from the Office of Permit Ombudsman. Maya, welcome. I'll give you a nice warm welcome. And our partners at the state were very excited about using the Hartford as a template to really get the site ready before investors are ready to come in, so it saves time, it saves money, it includes predictability, it includes stability, and we're really looking forward to that partnership also with the state of Connecticut. So with that, we're really excited to be here. We look forward to hearing all of your comments, and maybe there's someone in the audience who wants to buy this wonderful property. So thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call up the broker on the site, John McCormick. He's going to spend about 15 minutes explaining the process, where it stands, what his involvement is in it. And then after that, Hiram Peck will be speaking about some of the things the town is doing with regard to the property. And then after that, we'll open it up for some questions and answers, hopefully, depending on how the time permits. So at this time, I'd like to introduce John McCormick of CBRE. He is the broker on the project, and we're all cheering for him. So, John?
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. I confess this, I'm a little overwhelmed with the amount of people that decided to come out and hear a little bit about what's going on at 200 Hot Meadow Street in Simsbury, Connecticut. In formulating my comments for this morning, I thought before we get right into what 175 acres, 641,000 square feet of space is in Simsbury and what that means for the greater Hartford market, I thought it'd be helpful to put into context what is the greater Hartford office market. And so I just thought I'd talk a little bit on a very high level about some numbers which may be helpful for all of you in your day-to-day activities going out and supporting this marketing opportunity that we're talking about today. So the greater Hartford market, which is broken down into the Central Business District of Hartford, 4 submarkets, north, south, east, and west, is a total of 25 million square feet of space. The west market, which includes West Hartford, Farmington, Avon, and Simsbury, is approximately 4 million square feet of that space. And if we drive down even further, if we were to talk just about the Class A office market in Simsbury, that's just 621,000 square feet. So with all the competitive space in Simsbury combined, Powder Forest, 82 and 86 Hot Meadow Street, just to name a few, this building would double, or actually doubles, that inventory. In addition to our competitive space market, we have 10 million square feet of owner-occupied institutional space in our market. And again, just to help you paint the picture, up in Enfield, Mass Mutual's 450,000 square feet there, as an example. Cigna's 950,000 square feet in Bloomfield, just over the mountain, 5 miles from here. MetLife's acquisition of the South Building in Bloomfield is another 620,000 square feet. So just to put in perspective, if those 3 buildings were sitting in close proximity to this building, you'd have a better sense of what that really means in terms of size. This is a big building. If this building was on 128 outside Boston at 641,000 square feet, that also would be a big building. So I'm going to get into some of this in more detail, but this is a huge opportunity. This is going to require a very broad marketing effort, both in terms of what CBRE can do locally, nationally, and internationally, but also from our partners, the economic development community with the state, the town of Simsbury, and certainly staff. Hiram Peck's. This is just a unique partnership. I've been involved in commercial real estate for over 25 years. There's nothing like this that has been ever done in my career where you have so many various stakeholders at the table at the beginning of a process trying to be supportive along the way. So really, if that's one takeaway from today's activities, know that this has never been done, and wherever Mary's been able to tap a resource, we're tapping it, and I think the results will be proved out over the next 12 to 15 months on how we're doing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the process now. The Hartford decided very late in the 4th quarter of 2012 that this property was not going to be needed for them going forward based upon some strategic decisions to sell various business operations that used to be here in Simsbury. In the 1st quarter of 13, the town of Simsbury and the Hartford engaged on what was going to be a very successful commitment to fund a new charrette process for the property. CBRE was hired in May and made a formal presentation to the town, State of Connecticut Economic Development, on some of our ideas on how we would go out and position this building to the marketplace. And at this point, I can tell you, approximately 9 months in, this has been a very interesting marketing opportunity. And we will break down the marketing discussion today in pre-charrette marketing versus post-charrette marketing. The difference mainly is that all our marketing efforts to date have been to focus on how we could backfill this office building with an office user. It could be a single tenant user. It could be a very, multi-tenants. But if many of you may know, the costs associated with if this building was vacant today really doesn't make sense for us to open the building up for a 5,000 square foot or a 10,000 or a 20,000 square foot user. So we're really trying to kind of elephant hunt a little bit and look for that large institutional tenant. I'll just name a few. There's 15 that we carry in this marketplace, which include the names of United Technologies, Aetna, United Healthcare, Prudential Financial Services, Hartford Steam Boiler, et cetera, et cetera. So we are absolutely talking in the C-suites on a weekly, daily, almost monthly basis, reminding them of the opportunity that's here. How we do that is a mixture of mailings that highlight the opportunity, what we have here, and I'll pass some of these out maybe at some point, but it talks about what the building infrastructure is, how many floors, how many people could be accommodated in this building. And the Hartford had almost 3,000 employees working in this building. So it's a big building envelope. It's a very efficient floor plate, which is what all the corporations look for today. Beyond this, I'm going to ask Troy Riccitelli to come up from corporate real estate, who's going to help me with the technology. We could take advantage of a lot of the internet and mass marketing of electronic marketing to get our message out. And this was a video that kind of takes into account what the building is and its location, but also the advantages that Simsbury offers, not only its live, work, play opportunities, but also the environment and where we sit, being right against the Farmington River, at the base of Simsbury Mountain, and obviously a great labor market.
Situated on a 173-acre wooded expanse bordering the Farmington River in Simsbury, Connecticut, 200 Hop Meadow Street represents a unique opportunity for a large corporate user to lease or acquire a signature Class A office property. Available for sale or lease, 200 Hop Meadow is a 641,000 square foot corporate headquarters facility, formerly 100% occupied by the Hartford Life Insurance Company. The property is designed in a pod configuration with multiple entrances and large efficient floor plates that are easily subdivided. 200 Hop Meadow Street also boasts an array of highly sought-after tenant amenities, including abundant on-site parking, a full-service cafeteria, fitness center with showers and locker room facilities, state-of-the-art media center, executive boardrooms, coffee break lounge areas, outdoor seating, and 2 4-story atrium lobbies with excellent views of Simsbury Mountain. 200 Hop Meadow Street's park-like campus setting in Simsbury provides abundant greenery, walking paths connected to the town's rails-to-trails system, and unobstructed views of the Hube Line Tower in a tranquil, picturesque location, while offering convenient access to numerous retail and business amenities located on nearby U.S. Route 44. The affluent town of Simsbury is located only 15 minutes from Hartford and is also a short drive from Bradley International Airport, New England's second largest airport, and a hub for major airlines including Delta, American, and United. Simsbury boasts everything from outstanding fall foliage to hiking and biking trails, organic farms, a winery, golfing, an open-air performing arts center, and even whitewater kayaking on the Farmington River. With the town's winning combination of open space, boutiques, farmers markets, and top-rated restaurants, It comes as no surprise that Simsbury has been recognized as one of the top 50 best places to live in the nation. Corporate users seeking a prominent identity in a pristine suburban location need look no further than 200 Hot Meadow Street. This Class A property offers an excellent Simsbury location, headquarters-style tenant amenities, and a signature identity in a picturesque suburban setting just outside of downtown Hartford. 200 Hot Meadow Street also offers additional acreage with development potential for residential, retail, R&D, or life sciences. For sale or lease, the property is available in its entirety. For more information, please contact CBRE New England or visit our website at www.cbre.com/200 Hot Meadow Street.
Obviously, that does a lot better job than I could ever do. So, obviously, just anyone that sees that takes away an impression that they can be successful with not only attracting the right labor, but retaining the right labor for their business communities. Everyone, this is an overused term, live, work, play, but the new millennials, the 23 to 33-year-old bracket, which is all going to replace us over the next 10 years in the workforce, are looking to work and commute differently than all of us and how we originally got into the job market. So that's a real advantage in marketing this particular opportunity because of the community it sits in. So just to talk a little bit more about the building, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but again, I can't keep emphasizing enough how big this building is. So CHK Architects, a Chamber of Commerce member, Town of Simsbury business at 573 Hot Meadow Street, has worked with us on various floor plans, layouts, configurations for multi-tenant, single-tenant purposes. And this is an example of how the building was subdivided as the Hartford was transitioning some of their businesses to Mass Mutual. So we're here on the first floor in this main conference area here. Many of you entered the building through this very dramatic four-story atrium lobby. But just to talk about some of the infrastructure, we've got a full-service cafeteria, shower and locker room, fitness center over here, and then this pod configuration provides basically 3 sides of glass for every office space in the main office portion of the building. This is 4 stories, approximately 450,000 square feet of space as we go up vertically in the building. And then the original data center portion of the building, which is this north wing, is about 150,000 square feet on 2 floors. And again, just to talk on a very broad basis, if you thought about 250 square feet per person, you know, this building should easily be able to, you know, accommodate somewhere between 2,600 and 3,000 employees. So any of you large employers in the market that would like to talk to us, we probably have space for you here. The last thing I'll leave you with, and is a good transition point for Hiram to give you an update on the form-based code, is that as I mentioned earlier, all our marketing efforts to date have really been focused on an office user coming into the existing bricks and mortar and taking advantage of that infrastructure. Once the form-based code is adopted by the town, we're going to have a lot more latitude on various uses that could help enhance the opportunity, and I really mean that. So whether we're talking about millennial-style apartment housing, whether we're talking about some additional retail, whether we're talking about potentially reducing some of the coverage associated with the parking, and doing something closer to the building from a life sciences or a medical office standpoint, we really feel that that's going to help us kind of widen the net and looking for the various users that are going to take advantage of this building. So with that, I'm going to open it back to Lou, and thank you very much.
And at the end, if anyone has any questions specific for John, we'll certainly take those. But there is a partnership going on, and having been a part of it, clearly the town, Mary, her staff, and particularly Hiram Peck, who is the Director of Planning and Community Development here in Simsbury, has worked very hard, thought out of the box, and finding different ways to differentiate this property and the town. And he's going to talk about a couple of those items that have been moving forward from the initial charrette, moving forward to a code for the area, and potentially a certified site. So this time I'll call up Hiram Peck, and I don't know, Mary, you're going to have any additional comments, but by all means, jump in with Hiram at any point you want. So this time, Hiram Peck.
Thanks very much. It's really heartening to see this many people come to this gathering this morning. The opportunity that was presented to us, and I have always looked at it as an opportunity, when we learned that the Hartford was not going to be with us in town any longer, is really a great one. It's really a great time to be a planner as far as I'm concerned. We have done in the last few years some really interesting things with the town center. We had a sort of completely transparent charrette for the town center, and that process was so successful with regard to, my mom. That process was so successful that we have been very glad to use that model in the Route 10 corridor study for the Department of Transportation. Capital Region Council of Governments was impressed with how that worked as well as the first charrette that they had been involved in. We also did some charrette-like meetings for the Senator Retaud area, and that study is just about ready to wrap up now. It seems I get just a few more minutes to put some bows on that package and get that to the Zoning Commission. And then this particular project came along, was really exciting as well. This is, as John said, is really a unique property from a lot of standpoints. Number one, the size of it. Not only the building itself, which is obviously significant. I think those of you that attended the charrette learned that it was about half the size of the Chrysler building. It's no small feat to try to fill that again. The fact that there's 40 pristine acres to the north of this site that's separated by floodplain and wetlands, beautiful green area that connects to the trail, is another unique opportunity. And so what we did when we hired Gateway Planning, and they're part of the Balfour Beatty company that was successful in getting the nod to go ahead with that charrette, is to talk about the different possibilities that could happen here. We'd obviously all like to see somebody just come in and say, yeah, I'll give you a check for X million and we'll fill the building and that'll be the end of it. Well, it's unlikely, I think we all know, that that's going to happen. We'd love that to happen, and it might happen tomorrow, but it might not happen for some time. And so what we really had to do was to decide what else could be done with the property. Number one, that would satisfy the Hartford and their ability and their need to sell the property, whether they were going to lease it or sell it. But number two, what could be done with the rest of the property that would not only be satisfactory to them, but would also be satisfactory to the residents of the town. Back when I first came here in 2006, there was another small development just to the south here which caused a little bit of ruckus in the town. So we decided not to visit that process again. So what we decided to do was get people all together, talk a little bit about it. What are people going to like? What are they going to accept? And more efficiently, and probably more importantly, what could effectively, that is economically, be done with the property that the town would accept? So what we came up with, and what the planning consultant came up with, Gateway Planning out of Dallas, and a number of firms that they worked with, Catalyst Commercial and Kinley Horn did some traffic work. We did a lot of economic work. We wanted to involve early on State Senator Kevin Whitkos, the DOT, the DECD was kind enough to send some people to that initial charrette and have continued to, as Mary said, point out through the Office of the Permanent Ombudsman to continue to work with us. We think that the package between the new zoning code, which is different, it's called the form-based code, zoning code, and the opportunities that are presented in that code for somebody to come in and do something very quickly, which will have essentially, I can't say pre-permitted, but very closely permitted, watch permitted, so we can shorten that permitting time significantly, and be acceptable to the town is very likely. Really interesting, last Sunday, having a life actually, last Sunday I was reading my office email, and an architect emailed me and said, I really disagree with what you folks are doing in that process. So I emailed him back and I said, I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm not sure what you're unhappy about, but so actually I talked to him again yesterday and said that he would do it completely differently. I said, well, have you seen the code? Well, no. Have you seen the charrette? Well, no. Do you know anything about the discussions that we've had and the subcommittee meetings that we've had and the talks that we've had? Well, not really. So I would just simply say to folks that are interested, and I hope there are some here today, take a look at the website, take a look at the code. It is 61 pages, so if you really have trouble sleeping, you might take a couple of no-goes before you go through that. But take a look at that code, and it shows you a different series of opportunities. In the code itself, and I won't go into the details of it now, but there are, I did bring 8 or 10 copies, so if you really do want a paper copy, you're welcome to take a paper copy. In the code, there are a couple of different things. In addition to the zoning verbiage itself, it talks about the uses that are allowed here in various zones that the property is at least theoretically divided up into. There are 2 different scenarios, and there are 2 different framework plans that are shown in the code as well. So the sort of scheme is done. And if a person from a lending institution, whether it's Wall Street or whether it's a local bank, wants to know whether this is doable, whether it can be done, in the next few years, the answer is yes, it can be. It can go through the process fairly quickly. If it adheres directly to the plan, it can be what's called a Type 1 application, where there's only an administrative review. Typically in the town center code, what the zoning commission kindly did was give me the ability to sign off on up to 25,000 square feet of development. It's unheard of in the state of Connecticut that should happen, but we can do it here, and we can do it very quickly. If the plan that somebody comes in with is a little bit different, that is, it meets the code, but it is not exactly a Type 1 application, and it's called, obviously, a Type 2 application. If it's a little bit more significant than that, it's called a Type 3 application. And those are processed administratively first, through the design review board, and then through the zoning commission as a consent item. A consent item means it goes to the commission, and if it meets all the regulations, it's passed without further discussion. Again, something else that's unheard of in the state of Connecticut in land use circles. The 4th type of application that could come here is, and I find it really hard to believe, but if someone came in with a better idea than we had, they could come in and say, we have what's called an alternative compliance proposal. We have a plan that says we could do this, this, and this on this property, and on northern 40 acres we could do something else. That's a Type 4 application, which essentially would go through the commission, normal design review process, and that particular proposal could be landed in a relatively short period of time as well, although that would get the most scrutiny out of the 4 different types of applications. So there are a variety of alternatives, a number of different things that could be done here. If you have any idea, we've talked to people from all the way from just regular business folks that are looking for office space. We've talked to breweries that want 75,000 square feet of craft brewing space with restaurants, cooking classes, tasting classes, food classes that would be associated with something like that. I've talked to them. We're trying to drag them into town. They've outgrown their sites that are not far away from here, and we're hopeful that they would come here as well. So continue to try to talk to them. That would fill up someplace. Now, it's not an agricultural use, no question, but whether they could seriously grow any of the materials that they use as part of their process here on agricultural property, don't know yet. But we're working on things like that. So we really are thinking outside the box. It's been a pleasure in the last few years, mostly a pleasure, put it that way, to work with thinking outside the box and to try to do these kinds of things. Very grateful to the town for having given us this opportunity to do that. We're also grateful to the Hartford for the ability to work with them. Clearly, they funded the significant majority of this operation, and we're glad of that. But it's been a great partnership so far. We're almost done with halfway, that's the way I see it. Once we get the code in place, that's halfway. The second half is making sure that John and his group get somebody to come in and actually finish the second part of this. So very happy to be here, happy to answer any questions you might have. I don't know, Mayor, if you have anything else at this point?
I think at this point we're just happy to answer any questions. You've given a lot of information to you today, and some of you have heard it before. And I just wanted to echo what Hiram said. It's really a team effort. It couldn't happen without the Hartford, of course, partnering with the town, but all the town officials and the wonderful residents that have come out and been part of the process. So, thank you, Charity.
I'll start with just the first question for Hiram. What is the process right now with regard to the code, and when and how will it be approved so that we know that it's a final product?
Sure. This is a little bit like the conventional process at this point. I've asked that anyone that has comments on the code that's up on the website, get their comments back to us by the 28th, which is just a couple of days away. So it was presented by Gateway on the 18th at the library in that lovely snowy evening we had, but we need the comments back by the end of February. We would like to get those comments back to the consultant, back to us within a week, so that by the 15th of March, we have that ready to go in front of the land use commissions. Before that, obviously, we need to make sure that the Hartford is happy with those changes, whatever they might be, and that they're happy with the code as well. It is their property, in fact. We're not going to simply rezone it without them agreeing to what we're doing. So again, completely collaborative effort. We'd like to get it back in front of the land use commissions by, March 15th, around there, and then go through the normal review process. It'll be reviewed by the Planning Commission, Design Review Board, by the Zoning Commission, Economic Development Commission, Conservation too, I'm sure, actually, they part in it. So everybody will get another shot, but we'd like to have it by the middle of March.
Does anyone have any questions specifically to someone? Fert?
I may have missed it because I'm hard of hearing. Is the video online, so if your college roommate was Bill Gates, you can send it to him?
Ferg, something you want to tell us about your college?
Right now, the
He
videos,
dropped out, by the way.
right now the video is available on the CBRE website out of our Hartford office, so you can certainly download that and use it. The comment I would say is that there's probably going to be changes as we go through the process and we understand where the form-based code ultimately shakes out. So we may be adding some illustrative things that tie into the form-based code that talks about the specific development opportunities, specifically for the north 40 acres, but also how the densities may change for the existing 135-acre site that is known as 200 Hot Meadow Street.
Anyone else? We'll take this one first, Nick.
Lou, sort of a two-part question that has to do with timing. First of all, the Hartford is renovating downtown, so they're bringing people back out here, and that adds sort of, to my way of thinking, a timing issue about what could be done and when with, new tenants coming in. And then secondly, and sort of in conjunction with that, if you were to get half a dozen potential tenants that want, say, 25,000 square feet, do they all have to come together at the same time to be able to make this work, or I guess I'm just trying to understand the process of putting the package together.
It's not for me.
Okay. I would say this, we have said publicly, and again with Simsbury TV here, we have said publicly that the Hartford is giving us as much creative thinking as possible to come up with solutions for the building. So as I mentioned earlier, multi-tenancy and them leasing the building to third parties is absolutely part of the marketing effort that we've been given by the Hartford. I think as it relates to how we open the building up, if the Hartford was going to be here, that's a different question than if the building was vacated by the Hartford in terms of what that critical size is to open the building.
Yeah, we will be swinging people in and out of here as we renovate downtown Hartford. Ideally, we'd be one large tenant, as John talked about. Is there a way to piece up the building? Those are things we could talk about. If he brings a developer to us that has all these different tenants and we sell the developer and do some transition that way, there's always a lot of different things we could do. We're here to be creative. We're not here to not sell the property or not make the right decision for the town of Simsbury. It's just a matter of timing. It's been a great relationship, great partnership, and just bring us the opportunities. We'll figure out how to make it work. I mean, we've done this. This isn't John and I's first rodeo. We sold like a couple properties, one downtown Hartford, 55 Farm to the state. We made that work. We sold a business in Bloomfield to a furniture manufacturer. We recently made that work as well. So it isn't our first rodeo, and we found ways to make difficult transactions work.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add one thing. I just wanted to thank the Hartford. As we went into budget season, we were concerned about the time frame because the form-based code is taking some time, and the Hartford graciously committed to another year, so we have another year of predictability as we work through a lot of this process, and that was key to the town's time frame in terms of budgeting and predictability, but also was key to getting some of these form-based codes in place to help market the building. So we're grateful to the Hartford for that.
Yes.
I have two suggestions and a question. First suggestion is, on the film, I think you should have more exposure to Simsbury as a town if you're selling to people who don't know what a Simsbury looks like. People, their employees are going to want to live somewhere, and if it's attractive to them, that might enhance the package. The other one, suggestion is, well, I'll make a statement. I have had an opportunity to visit quite a few biotech and pharmaceutical firms, both American and foreign. Boehringer Ingelheim and Ridgefield Danbury comes to mind. A lot of these facilities in the development part of it have a small requirement for manufacturing, very small, and a large requirement for office space. If you went to Boehringer Ingelheim, you'd be amazed. It's a little city with fishing ponds and the whole works. And Pfizer, while it has a manufacturing facility, it also has a research facility. You go through the multi-story building there, and it's PhD, PhD, PhD on all the offices. Great office space, not manufacturing. They'll have a small area where they do prototype work. And even Bristol-Myers Squibb, somewhere in Wallingford. Many of those things are campus-type things. I was thinking, question is, have you gone to foreign facilities like, well, like Boehringer Ingelheim, which is foreign, that might want to open a facility here?
I know John can ultimately answer this, but I know CBRE is international. Although John is local, the ties and antennas go internationally, but I'm sure we're looking at all of those.
The one beyond that, the real question is, are you aiming at foreign companies also?
The way the business gets done today, that there's a team of professionals that deal with these large corporate relocations, and CBRE goes through what we call our global services platform to address those companies that may be considering coming from Europe or wherever they may be, EMEA, or looking to relocate from Chicago to Hartford. It could be something like that. So basically, we have a designated person within our GCS team that is constantly keeping the opportunity in front of their various users. What comes with those types of opportunities, as you can imagine, is a lot of forward thinking about incentives, quality of life issues, relocation packages, things like that. So since the 2009 recession, those moves have been fewer around the country and have tended to go south where it's cheaper to operate from than New England. But to answer your question, we're definitely in front of them.
Charity?
A question for the group here and anybody at home that's watching on SCTV. And this, I'm going to address this to Mary. Can you tell us as a community what the town is doing? Either is there a task force, how often you meet, what the relationship is with all of you, and so how many, how often do you touch base, come together, and just how's the town working?
John just said a lot, so I think the town immediately created the Hartford Task Force, which is all of the key key representatives. So we have a representative from each of the boards through town, so we can move very quickly. That's where the concept of creating this charrette study came from, and that was it really required all the boards and commissions to buy in. We needed the funding, which the Hartford was grateful for funding the majority of the funding, but the town wanted a piece of it as well, so we would have control over the study, because it is the Hartford private land, but it is a public process. So we wanted to make sure that the public involvement was very key and transparent and open to everyone. We meet regularly. I think we talked to John more than probably talks to some of his family members. We're in daily contact with our staff, our reviewing, our gateway planning, which is our consultants. The state has been a great partner, from the governor to DDCD to Maya's office and the permanent ombudsman. We've had several meetings with the state DECD, and they've been helping us market the facility and had some great suggestions that we then implemented. So, you know, we know how important the Hartford was to our community. On a daily basis, we're doing something to make sure that the property is marketed, promoted, and we're really excited about the opportunity. So on a daily basis, Charity, we talk to the Hartford officials regularly. We may not do it publicly because a lot of what we're doing is trying to send potential investors. We've actually had a number of folks we've sent to John that have expressed interest in the town. So we've had a lot of people interested in the property coming from a lot of different places. So I would just say I'd encourage our residents who have connections, who may know of folks, our development community, anyone who has some suggestions. We're very open to bringing folks through, to talking to any local or state officials, and it's been really exciting.
Yes.
I have a question. On a conceptual level, I know there's all these different codes, Hiram, that you've overseen. Besides the one end user, which is sort of the easy sale, you know, somebody comes in, writes a check, and takes over the building. What are in your mind, the two most likely scenarios in terms of all of the concepts that came out of that gateway charrette process that seem to have the most marketability? Or maybe applicability, I'm not sure.
Yeah, in terms of marketability, I guess ultimately that'll depend on who comes forward with a big check. But I think that there were three basic ideas that were talked about at the charrette. One had to do with like a whole life care village kind of thing. You know, was previously mentioned live, work, play, but what that concept had to do with was things from early childhood, maybe had to do with specific places that could address early childhood issues. It had to do with living for regular folks all the way through, you know, early development, through later development, maybe all the way through memory care facilities and everything in between. So there was a whole kind of a life care village thing. One of the other concepts that we talked about was a farm to table concept as well. And I talked a little bit about the brewery, and that would be part of that whole concept as well. So there's a whole series of different crossroads that you come to when you talk about these concepts. We were very careful to make sure that our commercial people looked hard at all these concepts to find out whether they were in fact viable in the Northeast. Because people would say, wow, these folks are from Dallas, you know, what do they know? Well, they've been all over the country doing the same thing, and they understand, based upon some of the work that they did during the charrette process, that these concepts are not only different, but they're potentially exciting, but they would be economically viable. So we're hopeful that some developer and some funding institutions see that the same way we do, and hopefully come forward with something that would be really exciting, not only for them, but for the town.
So the life care village, the farm to table, and then the third version, which was that kind of educational
Yep,
thing.
exactly.
Did that ever still play in the top three?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. There's no question. The way the code is constructed, and I just looked at the uses here, and I thought Hap was going to go say, well, can you do those things here? Yes, we can do a number of things here. Because what we're interested in is the form. That is, what does it look like? How does it feel? What's that fabric feel like when it lands on the ground? Frankly, whether this building has an office in it, or whether it has a school in it, or whether it has a laboratory in it, or whatever, is essentially irrelevant. The building is here, the form is here, and that's what we've got to deal with. The new buildings, and there could be a bunch of them in the parking lots out here, because those of you that enjoyed the brisk walk from all the way out to in today know that there's a big space out there to fill. So that could be Whole Foods, you know, could be something else along those lines as well. So there's some retail opportunities as well. So yeah, series of opportunities.
I would offer this as part of the charrette process and our working side by side with Gateway. We had them spend a lot of time at the Cigna campus just over the mountain in Bloomfield. And that was basically three different developers. I mean, we're not recommending a golf course here, but a golf course developer, retail developer, where Simsbury Bank has a nice branch, hopefully very productive branch for Martin, as well as two different housing developers. One creating the millennial housing known as the Hawthorne at Gillette Ridge, which is a 246 high-end. These are people that choose to rent versus own. So demographically, very different than what everyone's probably thinking about from an apartment dweller for the most part. And then the last being the single-family development. Gateway spent a lot of time there. We've pushed a lot of the developer interests that we've had to date at the property to go over and kind of look at what's been done just over the mountain. And I think I think everyone would raise their hand and say that was done commercially very attractive and kind of met the market.
And I think the timing is key. Just to add, one of the things that John mentioned, while the property is owned by privately, our product is public. The town of Simsbury is a great product that we're now marketing. And all the things that we've done, the bike-friendly community, the top 50 best places to live, that's playing an important role in marketing not only the site, but also the community. And I think Hap's suggestion is a good one that I hope John takes up, because I didn't see a lot of what, I'd like to see more of the housing, the walkability, more of the mountain, because we have a great product. And I think there's never a great time for a company to relocate, but if there was a time, this would be the time, because we have a great schools, a great community, very strong assets, the recreational component that came up during the charrette as possible, using that in our the new development, the biotech, the fact that we have a highly educated workforce. So we have a great product, we have a great site, and we have a great community, and that's playing a very important role in the marketing as well.
There's a question in the back here.
Yes. You've indicated that the town and the Hartford have a partnership which has been extended for a year. Is that correct?
No. What I said was that the Hartford has made a decision to stay in Simsbury, not relocate for a year. That means that they're going to pay the same taxes for another year, so we can count on those taxes. There's not going to be any change.
How long will that last? Will they extend it again?
Oh, that I think it depends on what you heard today. I think the goal is to market the building and get someone new to pay new taxes and more taxes in.
Do we have any other plans beyond that?
Beyond a year and a half from the next fiscal year after that?
Yes.
We have a lot of plans. We have new development coming online. I think the grand list growth that we experienced this year for the first time since 2010 is a result of all the other initiatives and all the other businesses that are coming online. The new grocery store, the Big Y, Millwrights, the new housing development, the urgent care center. We have multiple sclerosis housing that's coming online. All those have not yet paid taxes, and we're looking forward to them joining our community and bringing additional tax dollars to our community.
Has Hartford indicated a deadline by which they will leave town and possibly tear down the building?
No, I don't think there's been any hard deadlines. It's really an ongoing process and somewhat fluid. Yes, in the back.
I'm Dave Balboni. I was on the EDC back in the late 60s when this was a pig farm. And that's true. And I watched it come in. The Hartford were wonderful. They've done everything a good citizen would do. My question really is, where is the state involved in this issue? Money has been poured in over in Dempsey. If you're down on the Gold Coast, money goes in there. I know that we have a lady here from the, I guess it's the state DEC.
Yes.
But I'd like to know just how involved the state is in this thing. We pay a lot of taxes out of this town. We ought to get a little service.
Well, I know Senator Wickos was here, and Representative Hampton is here. They've been partners in helping us talk with our state officials. We have had an open door with the state, from the governor's office to DECD to Maya coming to the meetings. We had state DECD officials who were at our charrette process, so we have a great partnership. I can't say there's been any door that we've knocked on that hasn't been open to the town of Simsbury, whether that's our local business community, our state officials, our state representatives, our real estate broker, the Hartford Insurance Group. There's not really anyone who hasn't been involved in this process, and everyone has been very cooperative.
I would also add that the current chair of the ECD, Catherine Smith, is a former insurance executive in her previous life and has been very helpful opening doors and kind of connecting the dots with the strong human capital that's obviously very, very much engaged in this community from an insurance standpoint.
Yes.
Just a question for Hiram. It sounds like once the zoning change takes place, we approve the zoning change, it pretty much, if it comes under type 1, just about any business can come in without really getting approved. Is that correct? So nobody would really have a say as long as it comes in as a type 1? Am I wrong?
There's a series of different types of applications, and type 1 application will be relatively, somebody wanted to move into this building and put up a new sign.
Right.
Type 1, no big deal. And basically the applications would change, they would progress down the line depending upon how significant they were, how substantial they were. New buildings, new locations, new facades, things like that would all come under type 2 and type 3. But they still could be done relatively quickly. The zoning commission, under the code, zoning code, gets to review all the applications, and if they have any questions whatsoever, they can fully discuss it anytime they want to, no question about it. Even a type 1 application, no question. The idea is to try to expedite the process for the developer. I would just want to add on to the question that Dave asked about the state helping. The real opportunity, I think, for the state to help us is going to be the second phase. We get the code in place, somebody comes in and said, I'd like to do this. That's when I think the DECD, DOT, DEEP, all the state agencies will be a great help to us to move that forward fairly quickly. So I think, again, the state will be participating in that process. And again, it's going to be a completely open public process. Absolutely no question. If anybody, you know, since I've come here, one thing that I really feel strongly about is keeping the process open so that people can comment on it as much as possible.
Just to follow up, the process is now for people to get involved, look at the code, come to those meetings. Doing it now, having it available for John to market makes it more attractive if the time frame for a developer is less. So the process is there. It's occurring beforehand to some degree as opposed to once the developer comes in. And that is very attractive, I would say, over the course of time. It saves them time, energy, money, and gives them some definity as to what they can do. So, yes?
Just a comment. I don't know Bill Gates, but the URL, if Charity can share that, the link to the video, and then when that video is updated, when we get to the, the charrette zoning changes and any additional pictures that might be cut on the video. But I think some of the discussion early on about creating today's event was around just networking and letting people know, and the more people know, the more that information can get out there. So people are creatures of habit. They sometimes will go hunt for things, so if we can put it right in front of them, I think that would be a big help as well.
Yes?
From the standpoint of loading dock logistics, is this building set up for multi-tenant use, or is it going to require a substantial overhaul in that respect to allow for other companies to collectively, either in micro groups or larger chunks, take occupancy in the building?
We've had an innovation center operator come to us recently as an example with just that question, and with working with Troy Riccitelli's facilities team, we were able to draw on their background on the building and how well the building was built in terms of the power that we have coming in, the power that Connecticut Light and Power supplies to the site. So we have a lot of tools available to us. There would obviously be costs associated with demising certain areas. There's a vertical, as I talked about earlier, which could be a B pod of 4 stories or a C pod of 4 stories. We could do horizontal. We could do all the second floor, which would be about 65,000 square feet of space. And you can see here, these are workstation environments. This is a raised floor area where the Hartford's former IT area was. And this is a workstation environment here. So we've got areas to do it. I don't want to suggest that it would be easy to do for a 10 or 12 person firm, but somebody in the magnitude of probably 15 to 18,000 square feet and above, we can probably accommodate those uses pretty easily.
Yeah, it's loading dock and shipping.
The shipping would have to be coordinated because we only have the one freight elevator system, which is right here. And that really just services the second floor. So somebody that needs a lot of ingoing and outgoing access to that would really have to be focused on what we call the north wing.
Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, I just make a comment actually. I was late, so I apologize. I want to introduce myself. My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm from DECD as well with Maya and Mark. And I would have said hello at the beginning, but I got stuck in traffic late, so sorry about that. But I just want to reiterate that we're here to be as helpful as we can. I think and be a part of the process, particularly as you move into phase 2 or the next second half of the project. And whatever we can do to be helpful. Commissioner Smith asked us all to show up and come here this morning to show our support and be helpful wherever we can, and we're here with ideas and resources and connections to the other state agencies. Whatever we can do to be helpful, we're eager and ready to be helpful, to be good partners to this effort, because it's an important project and it's a priority for us. So if I can, I'll hang around and say hello to as many people as I can, since I couldn't be here in the beginning. So.
Well, thank you for coming and introducing yourself, and we appreciate it. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. We do have the room until 9:30. So informally, it's a long way from here to there, so John has to make it that way. So he's available, and so is Hiram and Mary to informally answer any questions that you may have. I want to thank SCTV and Ken Picard for putting this on TV and informing more than the number of people that are here. Again, thanks to the Hartford and obviously the Chamber for putting it on. Charity, am I missing anything? Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Ken, your coffee.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.